Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. And so, as you have seen in one other time, the individual who is next to me right now is, of course, not who you have become familiar with, Lucy. It is a very good friend and fellow explorer named Luis. And I'll talk a little bit more about Luis here as we get going. As I mentioned, when we created the last video with Willow, who's another individual that we're going to fold into this, I had the idea, actually a little bit in collaboration with Willow, to expand what we do here on the channel and to make it a collaborative thing, and especially with individuals that I knew had very nice energy and were explorers who had a lot of very nice experiences themselves. And so certainly, Luis is one of those individuals. And so, as I mentioned again, with the session with Willow, what will probably occur is that we will have a couple of individual sessions with Willow and Luis, as well as Lucy also moving forward, while Willow and Luis get used to the interaction with D'setu. Although, of course, Luis has a fair amount of familiarity with D'setu through another platform that I've interacted with before, and so he does know D'setu's energy. So we'll do that for a bit, and then we'll probably begin some sort of collaborative thing where it might be two of those guys, all three of those guys. We'll kind of see. It kind of depends. So today it'll be just Luis and I, and this will be somewhat similar to what you guys have seen Lucy and I do in the past, where D'setu will express whatever they're going to express for a while, and then they will pause and invite Luis to add anything that Luis would like to add, ask any questions, look for any expansions, things of that nature. So I'll pause just briefly and give Luis a brief opportunity to say hi, and if they want to add just anything a little briefly about themselves. So why don't you go ahead, Luis?
I'm very happy to be here, and I'm very happy to be with Chuck and also D'setu. And the energies are already palpable on my end. And let's see what this beautiful collaboration will bring to everyone that gets an opportunity to be part of this. Thank you.
Nice. Yes. Fantastic. So, um, I'm going to take just a moment and let my more encompassing friend step forward, and then we'll get started. So we would take the opportunity to greet you this morning and to express, as we always do, our appreciation for everyone's participation in what it is we do today. Because, as was mentioned, it is a very collaborative experience. So, we've made our friend Chuck a little bit nervous in the past 24 hours, in that typically what we'll do is we'll send them little tidbits of what it is that we intend to express as we do one of these particular sessions. And today, really, as part of Chuck's exploration of our connection, we chose to withhold all of that and to allow that to unfold for them as it unfolds for everybody else in this moment. So, in your earlier sharing, Luis, about some of the things that you're doing, the theme of creativity, of course, is woven very strongly through all of that. Your creativity, of course. And this is something that within this time period, by that, what we're talking about is this shift in the consciousness that you're all going through, this transition that you're all going through. The idea of embracing your creativity. Now, one of the things that all of you are doing that others have mentioned as well is you're moving beyond concepts and ideas that you've applied to your movement in this fashion, but you applied to your exploration in your 1900s, perhaps your 1950s, your 1960s, your 1970s, your 1980s. There were terms and ideas that all of you came up with as this movement began to move closer and closer into a fuller expression of itself, that you utilized to attempt to explain the experiences that you were having, the movements that you were feeling, and those aspects of consciousness that were showing up in your lives. And those worked very well for all of you within that particular century. In this century, alterations will need to be made to all of that because, of course, your consciousness, in a manner of speaking, at the beginning of the shift of your millennium, began a exploration of your shift in a different way. And the terms that you applied in your 1900s can be confining in that regard. And so to allow your creativity its own freedom in terms of the ideas of your exploration, the language that you use, and the ability to understand that even in your earlier explorations, you were setting foundations, but not foundations that were meant to wall you in, but foundations that were there to give you a starting point, a beginning point, that now you will grow beyond. You will expand into something different. Those foundations can, in a sense, limit you if you cling to them too closely. Now, because you are, in some degree, still in the early and middle stages, those of you who are explorer, of your understanding of yourself, and due to what we will call in this moment your history of how you typically do things, you have a tendency to hang on to ideas, to hang on to terms sometimes, because they served you at one time. In this century, however, what you do is you tie into various pools of consciousness in a different way than what you did in the century just past. The energy begins to flow different. There are different ideas that will be presented. And of course, your exploration of self will continue to expand. In that, in order for that expansion to grow and to move in the way that all of you would like, new terms, new ideas will pop up within you to be applied to your movement. Allowing those will be helpful for you. Within some of the ideas that you established in your previous century was the idea of intent. The idea that when you came into a life, There was a particular type of a theme that you were going to explore. Now, to some degree, this holds true. But what you had a tendency to do was typically to frame that and what would happen to you in physical ways, how you were going to explore your reality physically. As new energies open up for you, as ideas and concepts and choices become available, more readily available, perhaps we could say, than what they were in your previous century, those things are much more flexible and fluid than what they once were. There are choices you now have that you weren't necessarily allowing yourself in that earlier century. Many times because a number of you had yet to make a choice about what you were going to do as this millennium opened up and expanded into what it is becoming, because you didn't really have as much of a feel for your own movement as what you do now. And that feeling affords you additional choices that you didn't even understand 25, 26, 27 years ago. So embracing your creativity in as open and allowing a way as you possibly can will become increasingly important for all of you, because the tendency will be there still to limit your creativity through what we will term in this moment metaphysical terms that you have applied to your movement, ideas that you have utilized that can in effect serve to somewhat limit you if you don't allow yourself to grow beyond those concepts and ideas as well. The experience that all of you are moving into is an experience that still, from your present position, is one that is very hard to understand. The movement that you're all going through is not a movement that you are familiar with. You are familiar with, in terms of the flow of linear time, many ways that you are used to doing things, quote unquote, in a physical nature, many ideas, many themes, many ways of expressing yourself. This new way that we will call it in this moment is something that you are unfamiliar with because this is your first time doing it. And so to allow yourself to expand into new ways of defining your movement will be helpful in your overall movement and your own expansion into who and what you are. Again, keep in mind that the you that you are becoming is a you that you have not known in terms of physical reality. And the way that you will express yourself, the freedom you will have to move around your consciousness while you are still focused physically will be a fantastic experience, but it is one that will again take a great deal of flexibility on everyone's part because it will move you far beyond what you have become familiar with within your physical reality. So at this point, we will pause. And if there are any expansions that you would like, any questions that you have, any clarifications that you would like us to make, we would be very happy to do that.
I'd like to explore the kinds of things that are impinging on one being freely creative, that are very nested in the concept of identity.
Probably the most impactful thing that all of you will become familiar with within this shift is just how powerful in an unbridled way all of you actually are. The total freedom that you have to manipulate consciousness to do whatever you would like to do with consciousness. Developed a tendency, again, as you wrestled with your understanding of what it is that was happening with you as your 1900s progressed, to look outside of yourself within what we might call the spiritual realm to helpers, to guides, to things of that nature. And you gave them the power on what was happening with your life. Understand that most typically, the guidance that you're getting are from other expressions of yourself, your own expansive self. And again, you are that expansive self. It's only from this perspective, you don't remember that that's what you are. And that, in fact, is what you're moving into. You're not actually growing into anything. You're remembering what you already are. And with that remembrance, you'll be able to do the things that are quite natural for you to do. And so, as you have all of you developed ideas and terms that grew out of your more limited understanding, and we use that term in a way that we know you all understand, not that your physical experience was in any way, shape, or form limited in comparison to what you're going to do. It was an experience that you chose with intention, an experience that you chose for all the things it would bring. But in comparison to the experience you will have, it is in fact a little narrower. And so in that regard, limited. So you came up with ideas and you chose terminology from what it was that you knew. But the concept is that what you know now is more than what you knew then. So now you can apply ideas that are broader, that are freer, that are more fluid, that will help you to move into who and what you are more. And what you will also do is you understand your collaboration with any individual, including individuals like ourselves, are only there to provide you with reminders of the ability that you have, reminders of your creativity, reminders that you get to steer and point your creativity in any way that you would like to. Those are the things that you're moving into. And the things that inhibit that are those things that you are moving beyond.
The practical steps to actually move into future, let's call it future self realities in a sense, tend to be very clever with a lot of emotional intensity. What approaches do you suggest to clear that?
So, first of all, even though a number of individuals on your planet don't have strong emotional responses as their initial response, emotion and the powerful expression of emotion is one of the foundational explorations that you're doing within your physical reality. Now, in that regard, emotion, in a sense, has a twofold purpose here. One is to just be part of your experience, to be a configuration of consciousness and energy that you experience within physical reality that colors your experience here in the way that all of you understand that it does. It moves you very strongly. It adds components to your experiences that are very powerful. That is a large part of its expression here. Another part that's as important with emotion is to understand that emotion is also a very powerful form of communication for all of you. Communicating in the moment, belief that you're using in the moment as you're having interactions. helping you to understand how you're limiting yourself or how you're allowing yourself to choose in the way that you would like to choose. Those emotions that you consider to be more challenging are the ones that, in some way, shape, or form, help you to understand the limitations that you are placing on yourself. Those emotions that you consider to be more exciting emotions to have, joyful emotions to have, pleasant emotions to have, those are the ones that will always speak to those moments when you're allowing yourself to flow in a way that, shall we say, in this moment is more natural for you. So you can do that. We can give you some brief examples. When you're expressing anger, anger as a form of communication, again, the anger in and of itself is a valid expression in your reality, but as its communication perspective, anger is there to let you know that in that moment, you believe that you are without choice, which of course never happens. Now, the interesting thing about anger is that typically when somebody is quite angry, what it does is it pushes them into making a choice. Now, many times that choice may not be the same choice that would make if they had the time to contemplate what their choices were, but it helps also in that regard to stimulate you to remember you are never without choice. An emotion that's not quite as powerful, frustration. Frustration is there to let you know that you are not seeing all of your choices as clearly as what you could be, which means you're not allowing yourself the freedom that that deeper part knows you have, again, to choose whatever it is that is right for you. As you begin to get those things, then you can start to explore, well, why is it that I don't believe I can choose in this particular situation? Many of you who've explored for many years are quite aware that your beliefs are very powerful filters here in this reality. They impact your perception very, very strongly. A key component of what you are doing in this shift in your consciousness is you're moving from a situation, from an experience where beliefs at one time tended to act like a strong wind that was pushing a dry leaf around the sidewalk, to now you're going to come to understand that you can choose your beliefs. Like, and we've used this metaphor before, walking into a very large closet, that's a walk-in closet, and choosing the clothes that you want to wear. You will move to a place where you can choose the beliefs you would like to use to have the experiences you would like to have within this physical reality. In that regard, you will make your beliefs neutral and that they won't push you around any longer. It won't seem like they are choosing you. You will, in fact, choose them. Now, you may choose them to have experiences that at this moment you would call challenging experiences because for whatever reason you may have, you want to have that kind of an experience. But you will choose your beliefs. So the challenges that most individuals have is that you are experiencing situations that allow you to have some understanding of the beliefs that you're using, the way you're using those to have that particular situation. And it's through those experiences, if you can see them for what they're doing, that can be beneficial to you to understand that you can begin to use other ones. And you have done this in your past. There are many, many things that you have already done in your life where you have shifted into a different belief. Something as simple as riding a bike when you were a child. When you began, your belief was you could not ride that bike. And as your older brother or sister or your parent or whoever might have been helped you with riding the bike, you shifted and you utilized a different belief that you could ride that bike. Santa Claus is another example where you believe this individual had an existence in the way that everybody around you described that they had an existence. Something that's important with beliefs is that many of your beliefs, of course, not only start, but are added to your life as you get older through individuals that you hold to be important in your life, that you believe have important things to say, that live a life that you believe is a nice life, individuals who are important to you in some way, shape, or form. These are the individuals that the influence that they have usually then align you with particular belief systems. And so to understand that you can utilize that idea also as you move forward. Understanding, of course, as more and more of you will do, the true nature of your being and the experiences that help you to do that can also help you to, shall we say, loosen the hold that some of these more in the moment, we'll call them constraining beliefs, can have on you. So there are many roads that you can take. You can, of course, use dream time. You can use meditation. There's many things. There are many techniques that you've discovered that can be helpful in this regard. But understanding, especially as far as emotions are concerned, their communicative nature is something that can be a very powerful thing for you to do because, again, as you experience particular emotions, the ones especially that you may consider to be challenging emotions in the moment, they are there to tell you in the moment the belief you're using in the moment that's providing you with the particular type of situation that you're having then.
So, taking that a little bit into the way that normally most people process emotions, which often is suppress them and they linger as energies, and the original messaging that was embedded in the now moment gets lost in the shuffle. What can you bring to the light for us to try to hump over that?
One of the things that this exploration can be helpful in is to understand that even though emotions are very, very powerful, you are the one that creates the emotions. It's really you that has the power. The emotions are not more powerful than you. So, in that regard, if you can allow yourself to experience the emotions, because again, a large part of your experience here in this physical reality is to have the experience of emotions. So, regardless of whether it's fear, regardless whether it's sadness, whatever it might happen to be, because of course the others are easy. It's easy to experience joy, it's easy to experience love. The others are the ones that can sometimes bring you hesitancy. And so, when you're having those emotions, to allow yourself to experience the emotion. And in that, frequently, as you allow it to be experienced, you can have some insight into why it is it's there in your life, why it is you chose that particular emotion, because you're not fighting the emotion. You're not attempting to push it down. You're not attempting to push it away, believing that it's more powerful than you are, because of course it is not. Emotions, again, are neutral in your existence. It's as if you open the silverware drawer in your kitchen and you can choose a knife, you can choose a fork, you can choose a spoon, you can choose something else that lies there. That is the ability that you will have with emotions. You don't believe that that's the case right now, but in experiencing the emotion as it shows up, you fulfill a part of what your reality is about, which is the experience of the emotions. Typically, if you do that, Chuck had an experience within the last week where out of the blue, there were scenarios that were playing out in his mind, scenarios that he knew weren't his preferences. But regardless of the way that he attempted to steer his mind many times, it came back. And when he just allowed the scenario to play itself out, allowed himself to experience the emotions that were there, even though they wouldn't be preferences that he would make consciously here, once it was done, then the emotions left and everything shifted and it became different. And then a very different type of emotion filled him. And this has occurred a number of times. So again, the ability to allow, because what can happen as you explore yourself in this way is that you tend to think of consciousness only in what we would say might be good terms or loving terms or embracing terms. Maybe not keeping in mind that consciousness creates everything that happens. Consciousness creates all experiences. No experiences are outside of consciousness. Any of the what are typically termed horrible experiences, bad experiences, incorrect experiences, wrong experiences, however you might label those, are also creations of consciousness. And because you are not just this physical body, you are an immense expression of consciousness. And in that, all of those expressions that you've experienced are a part of that immense you. And so, in attempting to distance yourself from those things, what you're attempting to do is to distance yourself from yourself, which, of course, is not part of the process that all of you are going through. And so, by embracing the feeling state that you're having, by not judging the emotion and even the images that may be coming with it, by just being accepting of them. And in accepting, what we're not talking about is they would be your preferences. They may not be your preferences. You may not even like those types of things, but to understand that they're valid as an expression within consciousness. They have to be because they've occurred. And things only occur through consciousness. So to understand that someplace, somewhere in the vastness of self, those experiences are being expressed. They are part of your being in that regard. So that understanding, that exercise, and the ability to embrace the emotional states and maybe the visualizations that go along with them, understanding that they will pass, understanding that just because you have them doesn't mean that you're meant to have those experiences in this physical reality, or that they're even your preferences. It's just that you accept that someplace within consciousness, they are being created. Those types of approaches can be very helpful.
And have an internal inquiry as to why that is.
You can, if you desire, to explore that, if you want to go that direction. It is, however, unnecessary to simply embrace the part of the experience that you're having is enough. You don't necessarily need to know why that's occurring, the information about the individuals that it's occurring with. None of those things need to occur. The only thing that needs to occur in the moment is your acceptance of your part of the experience. That's all that needs to happen.
And in a sense, that takes it into a domain of choice. I experienced this, but my choice is something else.
Indeed, it does help you to understand the concept of choice, in that choice not only happens from your perspective, but choice happens from that larger perspective as well. And one aspect of you can choose, and another aspect of you can choose something different. It's like if you went into an ice cream parlor with 4 friends. Each of you may choose a different flavor of ice cream to eat in that moment. You're all in the same environment, the ice cream parlor, but you're all having different experiences, the different ice creams. It's the same thing with consciousness. Consciousness exists, shall we say, to be a little redundant, within consciousness. But there are many, many, many choices that are being made. You get to make your own.
And that's a beautiful thing. Awareness is an important component.
Yes, now, awareness we will talk not much about in this moment. Awareness is you. You always have awareness. The way your awareness is being utilized is a session of its own. But yes, awareness you will always have. Awareness you will never not have. How you utilize that awareness is really what the question is.
And so going back to choice, part of the choice is, in fact, a teaching. It's embedded. We're trying to see something and choose a different path.
Many times, especially in this movement that all of you are within, what you are showing yourself through situations that seem to be challenging, that are being experienced as challenging, that may be experienced as limiting, is just that. The idea that in that moment you do have choice, because you are and have never been a limited being. You chose an experience, this particular physical dimension, to have an experience that made it appear that you were limited, that you had limitations. Your ability, your unlimited ability, allowed you to do that, allows you to continue to do that to some degree. But your choice is always there. This experience was a choice, continues to be a choice. The alterations that you are making to it, again, are choices. You're choosing, if really you pay attention, as you're in your home, anybody's in their home, wherever you might happen to be, and each moment you're making a choice, simple choices. You choose to look at this thing, you choose to look at something else. You choose to move your mouth, you choose to move an arm, you choose to move a finger, you choose to think of something, you choose to, whatever it might happen to be. You're making choices all the time. This is the nature of consciousness. It is continually choosing. Choice is a natural part of your makeup of what you are as, we'll use this term in this context, a being. Choice. It's all of what you are. You're doing it all the time. It's only within this experience that in a number of contexts, you believe that your choices are limited. You will find out as part of this movement that you're all making that that has actually never been true. You've just utilized these very powerful filters called beliefs to make it seem like it was true. But again, that at one time was your choice. Now you're making another one.
And this is the foundation of change.
This is very simply, we would say yes. This is the foundation of change. Understanding that you have the freedom to choose in any moment. Within your dimension, within this movement, we could say that is a fair statement to make, that it is the foundation of change, is that understanding.
Thank you. Beautiful. And for those that find themselves in a place in which they need to stabilize their emotional state, let's say their nervous system is overloaded by whatever, is there anything that comes that may be of great assistance to them?
Again, there are a number of things that all of you have already identified that are quite helpful to do in that regard. Something as simple as just taking a slow, deep breath in the moment and letting it out very slowly and gently, and doing that a couple times can begin that process. Bringing your attention to something that's pleasant to you, whatever it might happen to be, can begin that process. Listening to music that you enjoy deeply, again, can bring you deeper into that process. Finding yourself in nature, if you have that potentiality, is something that can be very, very, very helpful. It helps to allow those energies of yours that tend to flow in a way that are very connected, very calming, very soothing, those energies to come to the surface. That's a very powerful practice that you can get into if you would like to. Finding yourself, of course, in conversations with individuals that are themselves also exploring can be helpful as well. So there are quite a number of things that you can do. Anything that is soothing to you in the moment is something to go ahead and invest yourself in, whether that might be interacting with an individual that you care about, whether that might be consuming a particular type of food substance, whatever it might happen to be, something that steers your attention in a different direction that seems to be in some way, shape, or form nurturing to you will be helpful in the beginning state. And then those others in the long term. You could look at meditation if you would like to. Again, as you become proficient in that, it will be more and more effective at bringing you into that state. So there are a number of things to allow yourself to imagine whatever's, you may call it daydreaming in the moment. And some of those may be situational, depending on what it is that you're doing in that moment and the opportunity you have to do things like that. Certainly, thinking of things that are pleasant for you to think about, taking a nice, slow, deep breath and letting it out slowly, doing that a couple times can be done in almost any situation to help to alter the way that things are going. Appreciation is a very, very powerful thing, to stop in the moment and to appreciate anything about yourself. Doesn't matter what it is. And then when you pull yourself back to the situation you're within to appreciate anything about the situation itself or the other individual that you may be interacting with. Doesn't matter what it is. Again, that's an incredibly powerful energy, and it can help to change the types of energy that you're surrounding yourself with in that moment. So those are a number of things that you can do.
So I hear getting yourself into heart coherence in some sense and open it up to compassion simply by appreciation, but by appreciating an element of what's happening.
Yes, appreciation connects you with the validity of all of consciousness. It's a very supportive thing for you to do, not only for other individuals that you're interacting with, but with yourself as well. Because what you do is you allow the natural flow of consciousness to support you and the entire situation. And because the natural flow of consciousness is, in an effect, there to facilitate the growth of each individual, we'll put it that way in this moment, it will have an impact in that moment as you express that particular outlook on things.
Beautiful. Uh,
So we're feeling in this moment that perhaps we should tie things up a little bit.
yes, indeed. You're the
And
master.
we would like to convey from our end of things how very pleasant it is again to interact with your energies. And we look very forward to doing this again in the future and to the project that you and Chuck and Willow and Lucy are moving forward into. We think that you will find it to be quite a fun and gratifying experience to involve yourselves in.
I'm
So in that
grateful to have
regard,
that opportunity.
we will we will wish you a very good day, our friend.
Thank you. Very grateful to be here.